Isn't it interesting how, in a connection as profound as the twin flame journey, we can still find ourselves seeking confirmation? That need to know if they're still there, if they're still feeling what we feel, if the connection is still real. It's such a deeply human desire, to want clarity, reassurance, something tangible to hold on to when the path feels uncertain. But the thing about the twin flame journey is that it doesn't always give us straightforward answers. It's not like an ordinary relationship where you can just send a message, have a conversation, and get clear answers. The energy between twin flames is different. It's more intuitive, more subtle, sometimes even silent. And yet, it speaks volumes, if we know how to listen. So, how do you get confirmation that your twin flame is still interested? The answer might be less about looking outward and more about tuning inward. Because the truth is, this connection exists on a soul level, and that means it's always active beneath the surface, even when the physical world doesn't give you obvious signs. There's something about the twin flame dynamic that forces us to trust what we feel rather than what we see. Think about it. How often have you felt their energy without any words being exchanged? Maybe it was in a quiet moment when you weren't thinking about them, and suddenly, you felt their presence, like a gentle nudge on your heart. Or maybe you've had dreams that felt so real it was as if your souls were meeting in another realm. Those moments aren't random. They're the universe's way of reminding you that the connection is still alive, even when it feels distant. But I get it, that's not always enough. Sometimes, we crave something more concrete. We want a message, a gesture, a sign that they're still thinking about us in the same way we're thinking about them. And that's where the twin flame journey can feel especially challenging, because it asks us to release our need for external validation and trust the bond we share on a deeper level. You see, twin flames often go through periods of separation, not just physical separation, but emotional distance too. It's part of the process. That space allows both twins to grow individually, to heal old wounds, and to prepare for deeper union. And during those times, it can feel like they've pulled away, like maybe they've lost interest, or they've moved on. But what's really happening is usually much more complex. Often, they're processing their own emotions, facing their own fears, and doing the inner work that the connection has triggered in them. So, instead of focusing on whether they're still interested, maybe the real question is, can you feel their presence in your heart? Because that's where the confirmation truly lies, not in what they say or do, but in what your soul already knows. The twin flame connection isn't something that fades or disappears. It's a bond that exists beyond time and space, beyond logic and reason. If you've felt that connection before, it's still there. It's always there. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't want signs or communication in the physical world. Of course, it's natural to want that. And sometimes, those signs do come. Maybe it's a message out of the blue, a song that reminds you of them, or a synchronistic moment that feels like the universe whispering, "They're still with you." Pay attention to those signs, they're real, and they're meaningful. But don't let the absence of those signs make you doubt the connection. It's also important to remember that just because your twin flame might seem distant doesn't mean they don't care. In fact, distance often means they're working through something important. Twin flames mirror each other, which means that every emotion, every trigger, and every wound one twin experiences is reflected back to the other. This can be overwhelming, especially if they're not used to facing those deeper parts of themselves. Sometimes, pulling away is their way of trying to cope with everything the connection brings up. But here's the beautiful thing, even in that distance, the connection remains. Even in silence, there's a dialogue happening between your souls. And if you take a moment to quiet your mind and tune into your heart, you'll feel it. You'll feel them. One of the most powerful things you can do on this journey is to trust yourself. Trust what you feel. Trust the connection. And trust that if they're meant to be in your life in a more tangible way, they will be. You don't have to chase confirmation because the connection itself is confirmation. The very fact that you're still thinking about them, still feeling them, still longing for that connection, is proof that it's real. And when you do need external confirmation, try asking the universe for a sign. Set the intention clearly in your mind, and then let it go. You might be surprised at how the universe responds. Maybe it'll be through a dream, a song, or even a random encounter that brings their energy back into your awareness. But whatever sign you receive, know that it's not about proving whether they're still interested, it's about reminding you of what you already know in your heart. This journey is about learning to trust love in its purest form. It's about learning to let go of fear, doubt, and the need for control. It's about allowing love to unfold in its own time, in its own way. And that takes patience, courage, and a whole lot of faith. So, if you're wondering whether your twin flame is still interested, take a deep breath. Place your hand on your heart. And listen. Because sometimes, the confirmation we're seeking outside of ourselves is already waiting for us within. You don't need words or actions to validate what you feel. The love you share with your twin flame is real, and it's alive, even when it's quiet. Trust that. Trust the process. Trust yourself. And know that wherever they are, whatever they're going through, they feel the connection too. You don't have to force it or figure it all out. Just keep showing up for yourself, keep growing, and keep loving both them and yourself. Because in the end, that's what this journey is all about, love. Pure, unconditional love. And maybe that's one of the hardest lessons in the twin flame journey, learning to let go of the need for control and allowing love to guide us, even when it doesn't look the way we expect. Because if you think about it, twin flames are mirrors, right? They reflect our innermost selves back to us, the parts we love, and the parts we're still learning to accept. That's why the connection can feel so intense, so all-consuming. It's not just about them, it's also about us. When we long for confirmation from our twin flame, what we're often really longing for is a sense of certainty within ourselves. We want reassurance that we're not imagining things, that what we feel is real, that we're not alone in this experience. And that's completely valid. We all want to feel seen, understood, and loved. But sometimes, the journey asks us to find that sense of certainty within ourselves, before we can receive it from another. It's almost as if the universe is saying, trust in the love you feel. Trust in yourself. And when you do, the external confirmation will come, not because you need it, but because you're finally aligned with the truth of your own heart. That's the paradox of the twin flame journey. When we stop searching for signs and start trusting what we already know, the signs tend to show up effortlessly. But what does that look like in practice? How do you hold space for a connection that feels so powerful, while also giving your twin flame the freedom to go through their own process? It's not easy. There will be days when you feel deeply connected, as though nothing could ever separate you. And there will be days when doubt creeps in, whispering that maybe it was all in your head, that maybe they've moved on, that maybe you're holding on to something that no longer exists. In those moments, it helps to remind yourself that the twin flame journey isn't just about union with the other person, it's about union within. It's about coming home to yourself, to the love that already exists within you. And when you can anchor yourself in that love, something shifts. The need for confirmation softens, and in its place, a quiet knowing begins to emerge, a knowing that no matter what happens in the external world, the connection is real. It always has been, and it always will be. You might wonder, but what if I never hear from them again? What if they've truly let go? And that's a valid fear. The unknown can be scary. But here's the thing, love, real love, doesn't just vanish. It might evolve. It might change form. It might ask us to release attachment to the way we think things should be. But it doesn't disappear. And in that sense, your twin flame will always be a part of you, whether they're physically present in your life or not. That doesn't mean you have to wait forever. This journey isn't about putting your life on hold or placing all your happiness in the hands of someone else. It's about living fully, loving fully, and trusting that whatever is meant for you will find its way to you in the right time. If your twin flame is meant to be by your side in this lifetime, they will be. And if not, that doesn't diminish the love you've shared or the growth you've experienced because of them. Sometimes, the greatest confirmation comes when we least expect it. Maybe it's a message after months or even years of silence. Maybe it's a sudden synchronicity that reminds you of the connection. Or maybe it's something more subtle, a moment of peace in your heart where you just know that they're still with you, even if you can't explain how or why. It's also important to remember that your twin flame's journey is just as complex as yours. They might be feeling everything you're feeling but struggling to express it. They might be longing for you just as much as you're longing for them, but fear is holding them back. Or they might be in a phase of deep personal growth, needing time and space to heal before they can fully open to the connection. Whatever the case, their silence doesn't mean a lack of interest. Often, it's a reflection of their own inner process, their own journey toward wholeness. So, how do you get confirmation? Maybe the answer is simpler than we think. You get confirmation by trusting what you feel. By tuning into your heart, listening to your intuition, and allowing yourself to believe in the love that exists between you. And when you do, the need for external proof begins to fade, because you realize that the connection was never about validation from the outside, it was always about the truth you carry within. Of course, that doesn't mean you won't still long for a sign, a message, something tangible to hold on to. And that's okay. It's okay to want that. It's okay to hope for reunion, to dream of a time when you can both be together fully. But in the meantime, don't forget to live. Don't forget to love yourself, to find joy in your own journey, to become the person you were always meant to be. Because here's the thing, the more you grow, the more you heal, the more you step into your own power, the more you create space for your twin flame to do the same. This journey isn't one-sided. It's a dance between two souls, each doing their own inner work, each moving closer to love, sometimes together, sometimes apart, but always connected. So, if you're seeking confirmation, start by giving yourself that confirmation. Remind yourself that what you feel is real. Trust that the connection is alive, even if it's quiet. And know that whether or not they're physically present right now, they're walking this path with you in spirit. In the end, the twin flame journey isn't about finding proof of love, it's about becoming love. It's about transforming fear into trust, doubt into knowing, and longing into presence. And when you do that, you don't just find confirmation, you become it. You become the living, breathing proof of the love that transcends time, distance, and separation.